Hashtag Doggy People with Phil Lassman.
Welcome to another edition of Hashtag Doggy People, the show about life, love, and of course dogs. Now, this week it's also about pet theft. Not a particularly funny subject actually, but my guest this week is an animal geographer at Keele University. He's the founder of Pet Theft Reform. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the dynamic Dr. Daniel Allen. Hello, Dan, and welcome to Doggy People. I think actually that could be your new T-shirt slogan. You know, the dynamic Dr. Dan. What do you think?
I think it sounds lovely. Yeah,
White
I think
and
that would
black,
work very
like
nicely.
Animals Asia, it would be quite good. Well, anyway, welcome to the show, Dan. Thanks for joining us. Now, listen, as a bit of a dunce that I am, the first question I need to ask you is, what exactly is an animal geographer?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. Lots of people ask that. It's basically looking at the cultural significance of animals and also the lived experience of animals around the world. So interested in perceptions, policy, practice, and also animal welfare more generally.
So what exactly inspired you to become one of those?
I don't know, actually. I think it's just always this lifelong interest in animals, this increased interest in trying to, I suppose, go for academia and find a focus. Did a lot of stuff about otter conservation, otter hunting. And that's moved forward now more towards pets, animal companionship, and pet theft. So it's something which has kind of evolved over the years in terms of a general interest in animals and then finding academic perspective to sort of try and understand various conflicts.
When did you first discover your love for dogs?
I first discovered my love for dogs probably about 5, maybe 6 years ago. As a kid growing up, I was born in Wigan. I lived there till I was about 6. I kind of liked dogs. I remember sort of meeting this German Shepherd and thinking, oh, at the top of the hill, going, oh, I'll hold the lead of this lovely fluffy dog, and getting dragged all the way down the hill.
Yeah.
I ended up being quite scared of dogs after that. I'm going to cut my knees, cut my arms and stuff. I was very, kind of anxious around big dogs for a long time. And then what I started doing is about 9 years ago, started looking for my perfect pet and meeting all manner of different animals. I continuously kind of thought dogs, it's got to, how can everybody be so wrong? I mean, so there's this attraction every time, meeting all these exotic animals as well, but dogs were always there. And then what happened one day is I met Louise, who's my fiance, and I met Rupert, her dog. And this was 5 years ago. And yeah, ever since, dogs have been my focus. Rupert coming into my family, and Louise coming into my family just changed things. So this, when it comes to pet theft and pet theft reform, it's something which has been informed by that bond, that relationship.
When are you going to get married?
Be next year.
Next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come back and check that you have got married to her. What is your favourite breed of dog?
My favourite breed now is chocolate Labrador. Rupert's a chocolate Labradors in general. I like all different types of breeds. Really, it's the kind of, for me, being with a chocolate lab and being with Rupert in particular. I think it's the same with most people, that they find a dog which they like, a breed which they like, and then that becomes their breed which they love.
I don't know if this is a fallacy or not, that chocolate Labradors are a bit like me, a little bit bonkers, slightly, whereas the white ones, are the very sort of straight-laced ones, the ones that go on to be guide dogs. The black ones are very smooth and cool characters, but the brown ones are always regarded to be a bit like that. I mean, is Rupert a little bit up and down, a bit round the corner?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but that makes them interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes them a character. Sometimes dogs can be so trained out of being themselves.
True.
I love the fact that he's just him. And I think a lot of breeds are like that. A lot of individual dogs are just that. So yeah, I think there is that element to it, which I also really like.
So what does Rupert mean to you?
Everything. It means the world to me. People often talk about rescuing dogs. As you and Ira know, all dogs matter, very much so. And for me, it's just Louise and Rupert rescued me, basically. I've been in a place where it wasn't particularly a good place at the time, and met them, and my life's just improved no end.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that, because in fact our stories are quite similar, because until I met I wasn't the happiest person until I met Ira, and we were only engaged, by the way, for 1 year. I married her really, really quickly. And as it happens, a lot of our viewers are very familiar. This is Monty, and he was very much the focus for Ira starting All Dogs Matter. I rescued him as a puppy as a gift for Ira because I travel away a lot for my business and I didn't want her to be lonely while I was away. So I got her this puppy, Monty, little did I know what I was starting. And he was a yellow white Labrador pedigree. And he changed my life as much as he changed Ira's. And he gave birth really to All Dogs Matter. So yeah, we certainly celebrate Labradors. Now, Dan, I want to now ask you, what exactly is pet theft reform?
Pet theft reform is basically an evidence-based campaign which is calling for pet theft to be a specific offence which has access to appropriate custodial sentences. So the problem at the moment is if people do get caught, which is very rare, 2019, 1% of all dog theft crimes led to going to court, generally got small fines, generally got suspended sentences. So that's, in the first place, not good enough. We want to make sure that there is a deterrent in place. We want to make sure there's a punishment. We also want to make sure the public is protected. So pet theft reform is targeting the Theft Act to change the sentencing guidelines to ensure that dog theft and pet theft more generally is taken more seriously. Because at the moment, it's due to the law, it's due to the sentencing guidelines. People can't access the kind of sentences they should be getting for this crime.
I know from Ira that pet theft is on the increase very much, and particularly during lockdown. So there's no doubt that they are increasing. I mean, why do you think there's been a spike in dog thefts, particularly during the last year, during this pandemic?
There's been a year-on-year increase from 2015 to 2018 anyway, so that's been happening. 2019, there was a bit of a dip. Still looking at stats on that's exactly what's going on. 2020, massive increase. The reasons behind this, obviously the pandemic, it's the perfect storm. You know, things like Lucy's Law have come in, which is fantastic from Mark Abraham and his team. But with the pandemic, you couldn't go and see where's mum. You couldn't ask where's mum because you were stuck in your house in lockdown. So that couldn't be implemented quite as much as it could have been. It will be in the future. More people are wanting canine companionship because of loneliness, because they think they have the time to be able to, you know, train their dogs and get that bond, which they have. Prices are going up. They're skyrocketing. They're doubling. They're quadrupling. They're going absolutely crazy in terms of the amount of money involved. And you know, alongside that, people are thinking, well, actually, there's pet theft's always about making money anyway. But this is connected to organised crime. And then there's opportunists connected to it as well who, you know, take dogs. And what's generally happening, what seems to be happening more so this year than any previous year, is that kennels, breeders, certain puppies, I suppose, which have just been bought, are being targeted. And the reasons for that is because very young puppies might not be microchipped, so they can be sold on, and people wouldn't know even if they're scanned, to unsuspecting people. Other dogs are going into puppy farms. There's still illegal puppy farms out there, and they're breeding from these dogs again and again and again, making thousands of pounds. And others are being sold on just to unsuspecting owners for lots of money. And the fact that dog theft in particular is a low risk, high reward crime, this is where pet theft reform comes back into it, means that, you know, if you're already into criminality, this is something which you'd be drawn to. We're speaking to various stakeholders, various experts from policing and other areas. We're being told that people are moving from drugs, for example, to pet theft and puppy farming because there's the same sort of amount of money involved, but there's less risks at the end of it. Even if you do get caught, a small fine, suspended sentence means nothing, really, if you're already involved in criminality and used to getting prison time. So that's the kind of reasons behind it. And obviously, as you know, with the rescue, there's going to be massive implications for the dogs. You know, in the summer, I think there's going to be lots of dogs being abandoned because of this as well, because when we come out of lockdown, people are going back to work, and it's just going to be an animal welfare nightmare.
In an ideal world, how will we remedy this? Is the answer obviously must be microchipping at the earliest stage and scanning at the earliest stage, when they're puppies, immediately, no questions about it. It should be enforced. Am I right or wrong?
I'm not from a veterinary background, so I don't, in terms of the welfare of implanting in microchips at a certain age, I don't know what the arguments would be for or against that. So I can't sort of make that point. But if the welfare of the animal was okay to be microchipped at an earlier date, that would be something which I think would be very positive, especially now that younger pups are being targeted with their mums by dog thieves. It's about joined up thinking. It's connected thinking is really important here. So there needs to be, microchipping is really important. It's compulsory to microchip your dogs. If it can be at an earlier age, that might be something which could be done, but I don't know about that. The other thing is obviously to make sure your microchip details are up to date. So if you move house, change the details. The other thing is then to make sure that the authorities actually scan the damn things. What's the point of having microchip pets if it's only optional to scan? If you've got a flawed microchipping system, which it is at the moment, because it's only optional to scan by authorities, and there are loads and loads of microchip databases. I think there's currently 15, and they're not centralized. So everything we're campaigning for, again, this is with Debbie Matthews, it's with Beverly Cuddy, to make chips count. We've got another government petition. It's basically an extension of Fern's Law, which will ensure that, vets have the legal obligation to scan any dogs that come to their veterinary practice at the first appointment, but also there's a centralized database whereby the authorities, not the public, the authorities, so the police, so veterinary practices, councils and so forth, can access it to see if there are stolen and missing pets. Because at the moment, that's not happening everywhere. It's happening somewhere, but when you have to be lucky for the authorities to scan, that's the flawed system.
Look, I'm not a maven or an authority on it. I just think that the earlier we can get into microchipping dogs as young as possible, obviously without hurting them. I'm not going to hurt a dog. That's the last thing I'm going to do. So don't start. We need to have some form of legislation to give you some backing, to give you a little bit of support on it. Now, I know that you're working hard with the government. What is the status at the moment? Are we going forwards? Are we static, or are we, God forbid, going backwards?
It is remarkably frustrating that the Stolen and Missing Pets Alliance have been lobbying for this in terms of getting a specific offence for pet theft since 2014. 2021 now. We're getting positive noises from the Lord Chancellor, who's talking with the Sentencing Council to change the sentencing guidelines. So positive things are happening. I think pet theft reform will happen in some way at some point. We've got Tom Hunt, we've got Gareth Johnson, Ian Duncan-Smith, all in support of pet theft reform, and lots of cross-party support. So I think that's something which will be happening. We need to be positive about this. As you say, we need to work and engage with MPs, we need to work with the government, we need to work with the police to ensure that we can actually make this happen. We've handed it to them for free, totally voluntary campaign, grassroots. It's something where we work together, massive team effort. We've got loads of people on the team. We've got a new website out now, pettheftreform.com, which I've been doing in my spare minutes in the evenings. It's not quite there yet, but it's coming along. And it's something which, that kind of government lobbying is so important. Now we're starting to get bigger charities supporting pet theft reform too. So in the past few weeks, we've had confirmation again from Kennel Club, and we've got confirmation again from Battersea to say they support pet theft reform. I've got a meeting later on today with Blue Cross as well, so fingers crossed they also come on board and publicly make that support. But it's something which, it's a relatively simple thing to do. We're not actually asking to change the law. We're asking to make revisions to reform something which is already in place. And it's something the public wants. It's something that politicians want, the government, some of them want it, and charities want it.
Listen, I think the most powerful people in all this is the public. It's you and me and people out there. How can the public get involved with you and help to encourage pet theft reform?
The first way is to engage with your MPs. I think get in touch with your MPs, say you're concerned about dog theft if you are. If you're not, obviously don't say it. But if you're concerned about dog theft, raise that issue with them and then tell them about pet theft reform and ask them to support it. the more MPs that support it, the more quick, I suppose, the more efficient we're going to be in terms of making these changes. There's government petitions, they're always very important. There's the, I said, Make Chips Count petition at the moment, which is about microchipping. There's a government consultancy at the moment about microchipping, a microchipping consultancy, which is open till the end of February. So do make sure you say that Burns law should be a legal obligation. That's the scanning at veterinary appointments. It's not optional, it should be a legal obligation. There's a dog theft petition at the moment, which we're promoting, Pet Theft Reform are promoting. That's by Hannah Louise Goldstraw. That's looking specifically at dog theft. It's got over 130,000 signatures already. We want that to be the highest signed pet theft reform petition that's gone through the government. Pet theft reform is totally voluntary. We all do this in our spare time. All of our time or energy or expertise is free. We haven't asked for a single penny in 3 years.
Money. So I'm going to interrupt you again. How is your campaign funded?
Kindness.
You mean donations from the public, public generosity?
Well, it hasn't been to date. It's basically out of our own pockets.
Really?
It's totally.
Would it help if we, gave you a few quid? The general public, that is.
Potentially in the future. It's something we'll have to speak to the team about. It's something I'm very funny with money, to be honest. I'm very old-fashioned, but it's something. If there's ways in which that was to happen in the future, it'd have to be transparent. It had to be highly accountable.
Sure.
But I think in the future,
we couldn't come around with a bucket of cash for you, stick it in your back pocket, and off you go. I'm talking about perhaps on your new website, you could have, a way that the public can donate. I'm sure that the general public, you see, especially with me ringing the big, they know now when I ring my big bell, it's time to dig in. I mean, that's the whole reason I'm doing these shows, Dan, to be honest. I've got to, sorry to interrupt you again, but I just must tell you all, there's only one reason that I'm doing these Zoom shows and interviewing. I mean, we've had some amazing guests on the show. I'm only doing it for one reason. That's to try and help raise some money for all the charities who are suffering horrendously. I mean, they are so bad. They're really, Ira, I hear from, All Dogs Matter, really tough times. I mean, she's just one of all the charities. And anyone who is looking to help protect dogs and animal welfare in general, it does cost money. They've got the kennels, they've still got dogs to look after, they need operations, they're arriving in all sorts of states. And obviously with a campaign such as yours, which is kind of fledgling at the moment, but you need to keep ramping it up, and so you will need some funding. Do you have patrons of your campaign? Any famous celebrity patrons?
We have team members at the moment. So we've got Mark Abraham, we've got
he's a celebrity. He's
Professor John Cooper QC. We've got Beverly Cuddy, Debbie Matthews.
Debbie, yes.
We've got team members such as Richard Jordan, Arnott Wilson, Jane Hayes, Wayne May. I'm going to forget people, but there's lots of team members.
You need the doyens. You need Sir Peter Egan and Ricky Gervais. I mean, he's everywhere on everything.
Along the way, there's been massive celebrities. Ricky, Peter Egan's amazing.
He is gorgeous.
Probably the kindest person that I know in animal. I know generally, I would say animal advocacy, but just generally. Lots of celebrities have been very supportive. Dermot O'Leary, Miranda Hart. Again, I'm going to forget people, Chris Packham, Brian May. All of these people have helped with the petitioning. They've all helped get the signatures, the public as well. Every single share, every single like, every single signature helps. And it's all of that's happened. And that's the thing about this campaign, which I'm really really proud about, is that it's brought so many people together. And it is something which is, I've always tried to keep myself in the background. It's not about me in any way whatsoever. It's about pet theft reform. It's about everybody who's involved with it. And, that's something which I hope the website will do. And as you say, it's a case of potentially having donations in a transparent way, or sponsorship in some way could be another way of doing it.
Sure.
For me, it's all about the campaign. It's all about making change. It's about helping animal welfare. But yeah, and obviously what you're doing with Doggy People, it's so good. It's so positive. It's providing that platform whereby those that may not be seen by certain members of the public are seen, and then get that kind of recognition, and they get that appreciation and support. And that's the thing with things such as AppDog, for example, with Dr. Cameron and Mark Abraham. It's so important. It brings people together. It brings the grassroots people together as well as the big charities. and it's the grassroots level which needs that support.
I'm not an animal welfare activist. I'm actually a compere. I'm supposed to be some comedian type, and I just happen to be married to a doyen, Ira, and Ira and her team. They do all the hard work. But I just thought, look. I identified with the fact, as you've just very kindly said, that there are so many unsung heroes in the world of animal welfare that don't get a chance to come on screen and put their case forward, and they're doing such great work behind the scenes, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. And I just thought, well, look, I mean, so far we are interviewing some superstars who are heads of global charities. But, in my own little way, I'm just trying to give a small platform and a voice. And also, I would like to take the opportunity to ask more people to engage with all of the guests that have come on to Doggy People, because the whole idea is just simply to raise awareness of their causes and their charities, and to bring in the money, because everyone, I'm sorry to keep going on about it, but they are all suffering, and I'm afraid money is a necessary evil. I know that you're quite an expert, of course, in dog protection, and I mean, what advice can you give to people to protect their dogs from being stolen?
I think that the main thing is, obviously, there's various ways in which dogs are being stolen. It might be from your house, it might be from a gun, it might be from a walk, it might be, from wherever. But the key thing is making sure you stay with your dogs. Don't leave them unattended. This is something I was saying today to Dog Lost, actually. Not everybody's on social media. Not everybody reads animal welfare, animal charity advice. Some people are very trusting. So it could be if you see something and a dog's been left outside and you shop, for example, and you see it, and then just wait for the owner and let them know. Don't be horrible to them, because they might not have even thought about it. They're just being trusting. It's what they've always done. So the general rule is, obviously, don't leave your dog unattended, whether it's outside shops. Don't leave them in cars, full stop. Don't leave them in your garden unattended. Treat them like a child, basically. Don't leave them where they might not be safe. In terms of gardens, make sure they're secure. In terms of your house, make sure your house is secure. You can have potentially CCTV. You've got, things like the technological things now you can put in terms of seeing who's at your door and all that kind of stuff. All very useful. Don't advertise your pets too much on social media. Don't advertise too much where you are, where you're not. All those sort of things are there. The other thing is, don't be too afraid. There's a lot of alarmist stuff going around at the moment. And if you think about the numbers, they are increasing, but they are relatively small in relation to the number of dogs that are pets in the country. And there are regional differences as well, which are happening. One thing which has been happening recently is lots of stats have been floating around which are incorrect. They've been using a 250% increase, national increase of dog thefts in the UK. That's wrong. That's not the case. That's from one police force for 7 months, comparing 2019 and 2020. So, think carefully. Obviously, be vigilant. Don't be scared. Go out in pairs if you can, rather than by yourself. Adapt your walks. Don't go the same route every time. Don't go the same time every day, because then you're more likely to be spotted and followed.
Targeted, yeah.
All those sorts of things. There's protection devices you can have. Make sure they're legal. Just all that kind of stuff.
Baseball bat, no, not legal. Get out. Leave my dog alone.
No, that's it. It's just being aware, being vigilant, looking out for your neighbours. All that sort of stuff is really important. But there is, as I said before, there's an organised crime element which is here when it comes to dog theft. It's not just opportunist like it may have been in the past, 20 years ago, where people just nick a dog, sell it for 50 quid in the car park to get drugs, wherever it might be. It's different now.
And as you say, I mean, one of the roots here is that how much these dogs are now worth. I mean, the guys that go around nicking Rolex watches now for 2 or 3 grand, they'll take a puppy and get the same money. And as you say, it's less risky, but it causes so much devastation and harm, doesn't it, Dan? Because a dog is, as I said several months ago, that in my opinion, it's not just my opinion. Everyone would say the same thing. A dog is a family member. A dog is
Yeah.
not just an animal. It's not a thing. It's not, I've lost my wheelbarrow. A dog is a family member. It's like kidnapping. It's like losing a son or a daughter or a father or a sister or an uncle. A van rolls up and nicks your auntie and slings her in the back of the van and gone. I mean, there's an outcry. I mean, if somebody does that to a dog, it's the same thing. I can't thank you enough for the work you're doing. I think it's very valuable. Obviously, I'm been concerned so far with animal welfare rescue centres and all the wonderful people that do courageous things. But I think what you're doing, and I'm not blowing smoke up you, it really is essential work. I think it's a new approach to protection of our dogs here in the UK. And every dog owner admires the work you're doing. So I want to wish you all the best with the campaign. What is the very next steps for you with the campaign?
The next steps are obviously keep pushing this, keep pressuring MPs behind the scenes, keep pressuring the big charities behind the scenes, keep promoting in the public domain in terms of social media, keep getting that message out there. We're going to be having a blog on the Pet Theft Reform website as well, pettheftreform.com, and that's something where you can start sharing reliable information from a source which is evidence-based as opposed to made up nonsense just to get attention.
Right.
And one thing I always try and do with all the interviews I do is mention a dog which has been stolen. And I want to mention, obviously, Freya Woodall is a part of the Pet Theft Reform team. She came to one of the virtual meetings with us at Parliament. And her dog, Willow, a Sprocker, got stolen a few years back. So that's something just, I'll share that alongside, what I mentioned about chatting. So have a look at that. It's on our website. As Freya's written an article about it, which is on our website as well, pettheftreform.com. You can read about her experiences, just how terrible this is. And that's the thing we have to remember here. It's not even the campaign. Forget about the campaign for one moment. This is about the families. This is about the families which are torn apart and the trauma they go through, being separated from their dogs. And that's always, for me, been the most important thing. Everything else is a way of trying to prevent that and reduce more people in the future from having to go through that experience. And the people that volunteer their time to actually help these people for free, they're my heroes. They're absolutely amazing. Dog Lost and other associated smaller organisations, absolutely fantastic. My hat goes off to them. And that's the other reason for doing Pet Theft Reform, is try and shine a light on what they're doing.
We're supporting you, Dan. We're supporting all the people that support you, that you're connected with. And all I can say is you're doing a good job, and thanks for being my guest today. I hope we can help you in some, very small way. When is the website going live?
There's 2 pages already available, so there's probably another 6 I need to create. But
right, well, get on with it and create it, and we'll plug it for you, definitely. I just wish you all the very best with this campaign. I think it's wonderful, and I know that I'm one of many people. And also, we'd like to see Rupert as well. We'd like to give him a little bit of a wave. Is he around, Rupert? Oh, bring him on. Let's see Rupert. Where is he?
He's fast asleep, and
he's fast asleep. Oh,
here we go.
There he is. Oh, hello, Rupert.
Hello, Rupert.
Oh, he's a lovely big boy, isn't he?
He's a big lad, yeah.
He looks very cuddly. Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it, and the whole of the Pet Theft Reform team do too. So thank you, and thank you for your show. It's amazing. So
cheers. Thanks, Dan. God bless you. Take care and be safe. All right. We'll talk to you again soon. God bless. Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dr. Daniel Allen. So that's the end of this week's show. I think you'll agree it was very interesting to meet Dr. Daniel Allen. Pet Theft Reform is an important movement. So if you can, please support it. And so please email me, tweet me, heckle me, whatever. Just please engage with the shows, because that's what I'm here for, to try and raise awareness for all the guests and all the great work we're doing. So have a good week. Stay safe. Love your dog. And join me next time for some more #DoggyPeople. Bye-bye.